Hello there, good evening. Welcome to Look North. It's back to uni and back to city centre nights out. We're on the streets in York as police begin a new initiative to stop crime before it happens.
People approaching you, trying to touch you and things, especially when you're younger, it's not too great.
We'll be live in York to see how Project Vigilant works. Also tonight, a possible scrapping of the Manchester leg of HS2 would have grave impacts this side of the Pennines, say political leaders. Baggins the bear makes friends and cuts cancellations at Bradford Royal Infirmary. And things that go bump in the day, the ghostly figures roaming the city gardens in York.
What a fabulous start to the week it's been. This was the Washburn Valley to the west of Harrogate, but there is some unsettled weather to come. The first named storm of the season later on Wednesday. Join me for that week ahead forecast.
Hello, thanks for your company this Monday evening. As thousands of young people head to university, police in York are using a team of plain-clothed officers to try to stop crime before it happens. The officers work alongside uniformed patrols and they blend into the crowd on busy evenings. So they watch for suspicious behaviour and then they radio for uniformed officers to approach. Olivia Ruchwald has spent the weekend with them and she's live in the city for us now. Olivia, why is this needed in York?
Well, every year York welcomes around 20,000 students, and if you live here or if you've even been here at the weekend, you know when night falls it turns into a party city, and all of this presents quite a challenge for the police to keep people safe. So on Friday night they invited us out to see how Project Vigilant works. It's Friday night in York at the end of Freshers' Week. The city centre is already busy. Mingling among the crowds are plain-clothed police officers.
They're looking out for any behaviour that they seem to be a little bit suspicious and that might be sort of out of the ordinary. And it's really to try and identify any sexual predators that might be in the nighttime economy. And they're just going to be the eyes really and ears of us as the sort of the high-vis uniform walk through.
Project Vigilant is a national campaign. It has three aims: spot sexual predators before they strike, protect those who are vulnerable and offer reassurance. It's been running here in York for 8 months.
We've had some really good results. We've had a gentleman who was repeatedly approaching female groups. We've made the approach and established as a result of speaking to them that actually they are wanted. So that arrest has been made there and then. For me, that is a preventative measure and has prevented offences within York City Centre. The plain-clothed officers observe the crowds and then radio for uniformed colleagues if they spot anyone suspicious or vulnerable. Why have you stopped this chap here?
So plainclothes officers identified a male that was acting suspiciously. He reacted to presence of uniformed officers in the area. So we've sent our officers over to go speak to him and just see what he's about, see what his story is.
Police say York is a safe city and there's been no spike in sexual offences. But it wasn't hard to find young women who have been victims or had been made to feel unsafe. Stacey, I've just stopped and talked to you and your friend here on the bridge. Your friend doesn't want to go on camera, but she's actually been assaulted sexually on numerous occasions here in York, hasn't she?
Yeah, it was just different settings, and it's like you can't feel safe anywhere really, even when there's tons of onlookers and people that could step in and help.
He actually cornered you.
Yeah, he cornered me and was trying to touch me up and everything. That's what he's known for now, but he does it to a lot of people in town.
Many others tell me they do feel safe.
I actually do feel like this is a very safe city.
York was presented to me as a very safe city, and I certainly haven't felt, otherwise.
Relatively safe, depending on the time.
Yes.
Have you experienced any unwanted sexual attention?
It's not really tonight, but other places, people approaching you, trying to touch you and things, especially when you're younger, it's not too great.
The Project Vigilant team also works alongside door staff, and those identified as vulnerable are referred to the ambulance service or the street angels. Well, police tell me over the past 5 years there have been more than 2,500 sexual offences reported in this city. But they do say York isn't unusual and the city is safe. Joining me now is Fedor from Night Safe, a student volunteer project. Tell me how Night Safe works, Fedor.
So first of all, Nightif is a student volunteering project. We are with the University of York's Student Union. We're all students, we're all volunteers. We go out every official university club night, so that is Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, and we sort of hover about the main club event of the night. Basically, we're there to keep the students safe, whether it's to give them some water, they're feeling a bit unwell. We are first aid trained, but we are by no means paramedics or doctors, obviously, but we're just there to alleviate the possible pressures on the door staff and to make sure that no more ambulances are called than potentially necessary. We usually help them get into a taxi, help them get onto the university night bus. Typically, we just give them water, maybe a lollipop just to cheer them up.
Thank you very much, Fedor. Also joining me is Melanie Douglas. Now, you are part of a project called All About Respect. Tell me about that project.
So All About Respect started in 2018. It's an anti-harassment campaign. It started with just sexual harassment and then it's expanded. It also started at York St John University, but has expanded in the last year or so to community partners, the police, local organisations. And it's artivism, it's trying to train people about what to do, like how to spot if somebody's acting inappropriately, and then how to be a safe bystander, so how to intervene but do so safely.
Well, thank you very much for all the work you do here. Now, police invited us to film Project Vigilant because they want it to be reassuring to people who are coming for a night out, but also to deter people who might potentially be looking to exploit them.
Olivia, thank you. Next tonight, HS2 is back in the news. Now, you may remember 2 years ago, the line through South Yorkshire towards Leeds was scrapped. Well, now the same fate could be about to be dealt out to the line to Manchester, and that could have major consequences for any high-speed line across the Pennines. Spencer is live for us at Leeds Railway Station now. Spencer, we've been here before, haven't we?
Yes, it's been a long journey over the last 10 years. Leeds, of course, would have been the terminus for HS2 under the 2013 plan, with the line running from Birmingham up through the East Midlands, South Yorkshire and then on to Leeds. That plan was then scrapped in 2021, and what we got was this. Have a look at this map here, the western route up from Birmingham to Manchester, and then that spur coloured in orange running to Marsden just west of Huddersfield. And what that would have allowed is trains to travel on an upgraded Transpennine route at much higher speeds going westwards or eastwards in the opposite direction, but they could also have headed south down to Birmingham and down to London. So you can see why, if you don't build HS2 up to Manchester and on to Marsden, right on the boundary of West Yorkshire, then the whole of the Yorkshire region begins to lose out. And that's an argument that's been put today by politicians and business leaders in our region.
I think that the cancellation of HS2, both on the eastern leg and the western leg, and with it, the end of Northern Powerhouse Rail between Sheffield and Leeds and between West Yorkshire across to Liverpool and Manchester airports, will put back the cause of closing the North-South divide by 100 years. We are still relying back on the infrastructure the Victorians gave us. What we need is a modern transport system fit for the 21st century.
We're still not seeing the large-scale projects we need in the north of England to help people get around and really improve our economy. So it is easy for people like me to say we do need these projects to happen because it is making an impact on our economy in the north of England, and quite clearly there is a need for these projects to take place.
So why is that western leg from Birmingham up to Manchester and Marsden now in doubt? Well, it all comes down to costs. When the government outlined its plan in 2021, there wasn't a Ukraine war, energy prices weren't rising, the government hadn't had to spend money on helping people out with their energy bills. So that's one of the factors. Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, is also saying you can invest money in transport. It doesn't have to be on a huge scale. It could be for potholes or local bus services. We're expecting some form of decision later this week, and HS2 could just become a line running from London up to Birmingham and no further.
Spencer, thank you. You're watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. How lockdown isolation is affecting the way very young children develop language skills. Let's take a look now at some other stories coming into our newsroom. Staff at Leeds and Sheffield universities are starting a 5-day strike today, just as thousands of students return to campus. On Friday, the University and College Union called off strikes at many universities, including Bradford and York. But members of the UCU who work at Leeds and Sheffield are still walking out in a dispute over pay and conditions. The universities say students may miss some teaching, but they're making every effort to minimise disruption.
Staff working conditions are students' learning conditions. So if our working conditions are unsatisfactory, that means that the students are not getting the best. They're not getting the education that they're entitled to, that they pay for.
Sheffield City Council is facing an equal pay claim.
What do we want? Equal pay! When do we want it? Now!
The GMB union says the council's job evaluation scheme discriminates against roles dominated by women, such as cleaners and care managers. They claim some workers are thought to be missing out on up to £11,000 a year. We've asked Sheffield City Council for a statement. A teacher has been jailed for 9 years and 2 months for possessing thousands of child abuse images and sexually assaulting a pupil. Mark Langford, 55, from North Yorkshire, was investigated after a National Crime Agency received reports of him having child abuse material. The agency also found he'd groomed and sexually assaulted a teenage pupil almost 20 years ago. Langford was sentenced at Ipswich Crown Court today. Now, children in our region needing speech and language therapy are facing long delays to get help. Waiting times range from 6 to 12 months as the service run by the NHS struggles to cope with a surge in demand due to lockdown. Kathy Killick has been to Bradfield and Dugworth Primary School near Sheffield to find out more.
It's fundamental to every child's progress, the ability to communicate using speech. It describes our world, from learning maths to smelly socks.
When I was going to wear my socks, my mummy washed them.
Yeah, because if you don't wash them, what happens? They get
stinky.
But teachers are noticing far more children with speech and language problems linked to the isolation of lockdown.
That early mixing is so important for very young children to be able to practice their words, to practice the sounds that make words, and their vocabularies are a little bit smaller than they used to be. And there are some pronounced speech and language problems coming through which are becoming more and more common.
So sound it out together. W, e, b.
Schools are doing their best to help the children catch up, but the specialist speech and language therapy that's needed is very hard to find. Typical wait times to see an NHS therapist are 6 months to a year.
There's a critical period of language acquisition which runs up until about age 8. So those early years up until about 4, 5, 6, it is essential that children get quick services. We need them earlier, so the only way to get that is if the services are funded properly.
It's not just young children missing out.
Our children are behind their peers with their understanding or their speech or both.
This support group in Barnsley helps parents of children with special educational needs. They too are struggling to get speech and language help, saying the service is patchy and has become overwhelmed.
You get very frustrated, you get confused, you want to speak to somebody, but what happens is you can't. So you have to re-refer yourself back into the service. It could be a 9-month wait, it could be a 6-month, it could be 12 months. How long is this piece of string? You feel lost and you feel like you're drowning in it all. And I think everybody's got the best intentions, but we live in a system that hasn't got enough money to cope with demand.
Parents can support their children by using simple strategies such as talking about what they're doing together, saying back to the child what the child tried to say, and maybe adding on a word. Leeds Community Healthcare website has got a top 10 tips for talking. The 10 animations that kind of describe these really useful strategies for supporting speech, language and communication development.
Libraries and playgroups can also offer support, but with nearly 2 million children nationwide needing catch-up help, it's clear not everyone will get it. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North.
Time for a sports roundup now. I'm going to put my feet up for 10 minutes because there's a lot to get through, isn't there, Mark?
Oh, so much to get through. And do you know what? We're going to start with triathlon because Leeds-based triathlete Beth Potter has been crowned world champion after winning the World Series finals in Spain. Her victory in Pontevedra also secured her place at next year's Olympics in Paris. And it was a Leeds one too, with Kate Woff finishing second. As for Beth, she actually represented Team GB at the 2016 Rio Olympics in the 10,000 metres before she transitioned to triathlon.
I'm very determined and I'm very, I'll give it everything. So, no, I'm not surprised, but it's been tough. And yeah, just thanks to everyone in Leeds that believed in me. And
football now, and Sheffield United were hammered 8-0 at home to Newcastle yesterday, and their neighbours, Sheffield Wednesday, are also still without a league win this season, losing 3-0 at Swansea. Leeds United, though, secured their first home win of the season with a clinical 3-0 victory over Watford. The Whites dominated the match, but it wasn't until the 67th minute that they took the lead through Joel Pirot. Then after 3 minutes later, I should say, Sam Byram headed in to make it 2-0. And then the final minutes of regular time, Jayden Anthony wrapped up the 3 points with his first goal for Leeds. Barnsley made it 3 away wins in a row with a 2-1 victory over Northampton. Just 4 minutes in, the Northampton keeper miscued and Callum Stiles capitalised with this super volley at 2 minutes from time. Devante Cole, he ran the length of the pitch to score Barnsley's second, and that's his 9th of the season. Just watch it go in there. In League Two, Andy Cook marked his return from injury with a hat-trick to fire Bradford City to a comfortable 4-1 win at Newport County. Interestingly, Bradford had not won in the league since Cook last played a month ago, and he'll take away the match ball, of course. And Doncaster Rovers took the lead early at home to Gillingham when Ben Close lashed the ball in. Gillingham equalised, but with 3 minutes left, it was that man again, Ben Close, striking from distance to win it for Rovers. Harrogate Town went ahead from the penalty spot against Salford. Sam Follerin gave the Sulphurites a 2-0 lead. Salford then scored twice to draw level, but Abraham Odo ended a 20-game goal drought to win it 3-2 for Harrogate. You can just see there the Harrogate fans are delighted, as is Odo. Meanwhile, Rotherham held High Flyers Preston to a creditable 1-1 draw. Basketball now, and last night Sheffield Sharks earned their first points of the British Basketball League season with a hard-fought 75 points to 70 win over Cheshire Phoenix in game week 2. And just to mention, Sheffield Steelers, they're off to the best possible start after winning twice in the league at the weekend. Back to you, Amy.
And breathe. Thanks, Paul. You're not Paul. Paul is here later. Thank you, Mark. Paul's back with us. Now, meet Baggins the bear. He's cute, isn't he? But he's more than just a cuddly toy. He is part of an experiment at Bradford Royal Infirmary. Baggins works as a distraction tool for children, and he's having a dramatic impact on the number of operations getting cancelled. He writes to children before they go into hospital and then is waiting for them on the bed when they arrive. Amelia Shalish has been to meet Baggins and a young patient.
Heading down to surgery can be a very daunting experience, especially at just 7 years old. Brannon has a secret friend that's holding his hand along the way. That friend turned up at his home several weeks ago.
It's a brilliant idea. Yeah, it's really good to help him talk through what we're doing, because I've not really mentioned much about it myself. So Baggins Bear has kind of done the hard work.
Let's follow Baggins on his journey to help him understand what will happen.
Baggins Bear was introduced in Bradford Hospital to help relax and reassure young patients having surgery with general anaesthetic. Children aged 3 to 11 are invited to watch Baggins' story at home before their own big day.
They are looking forward to meeting you.
He's getting tonsillitis probably 6 or 7 times a year. Absolutely cleans him out. It's just no energy or anything. It just takes him completely out for days. So we've obviously gone to the doctors every time. He's got on the waiting list, and now they've said that he can have them out and no more tonsillitis.
As Brannon arrives at the ward, his new friend is waiting on the bed with a booklet and games to keep him distracted.
Yeah. Okay, so am I right to pop these name bands on you just so we all know who you are? Is that okay?
But it's not just good for the patient, it's good for the hospital too. Since Baggins made his debut, on-the-day cancellations have fallen dramatically.
Pre-COVID, the numbers that we looked at was 800 children, but during that time without the pathway, we'd had 27 cancellations. due to patients refusing anaesthesia. If we look at that data now, since we brought it in last November, we've now done 979 cases and only cancelled 8.
From a charitable perspective, funding a project like this is really important because it means that we're giving that holistic care, and we've seen just overall customer service satisfaction, if you like, and so less operations are cancelled, which means that more can be performed, which means that the service is seeing more children, so everybody benefits.
So after a few hours, Baggins and Brannan head down for surgery together, where there's a surprise waiting right outside the doors of the theatre.
Wow, look at the bit there.
The initiative costs £20,000 per year to run, and the charity would love to expand the programme across the hospital, bringing smiles to more Bradford children undergoing surgery. Amelia Shalish, BBC Look North, Bradford.
It's a lovely idea, isn't it? And a bit of an update for you. Brannan and Baggins are recovering at home well, and the surgery went well for them both, so well done to Brannan. Lovely. Let's finish now with a little shiver. York is well known for its ghosts and supernatural sightings. She's a bit scary, isn't she? But why wait for things to go bump in the night when you can spot a spectre in the sunshine? Phil Connell can explain.
With its blood-stained history, York is one of the most ghostly cities in the world. And for the next 6 weeks, its famous hauntings and spooky apparitions will be far more obvious than normal.
This is Ghosts in the Gardens. It's a project run by the York Bid. It's the 3rd year we've done it. And this here is the bride. She's one of 39 sculptures in the city that you will see at the moment.
And as regards tourism, how important have these ghosts become here in York?
Oh, massive. I mean, I think York is currently Europe's most haunted city. We've got so many businesses in the city who have made a trade on ghosts.
The 39 ghostly sculptures, including monks and Vikings, appear in 13 different locations. Their translucent appearance is created by this special wire mesh, which reflects the light and gives an air of mystery.
I think they're fantastic art installations, and they get people walking around parts of the city they might not otherwise encounter.
The detail on them, the faces, they've got all the features on the face, it's just fantastic how they do.
And quite spooky?
I should imagine there'd be enough to fool you at night time.
I've seen a couple, so I don't know.
You've seen some real ghosts?
Yes, well I believe I have, so...
And how do these compare?
A bit less spooky.
And at the Treasurer's House in York, there's a ghostly tribute to Frank Green, the businessman who bought and redesigned the building in 1897.
He left the house with its complete collection to the National Trust in 1930, and he is often spotted around the house. The smell of his cigar smoke is really often smelled as visitors are going round as well.
And there's a cat here as well, isn't there?
There is. The cat has been our most sighted ghost of the year. It supposedly haunts the tea rooms.
So whether you believe in ghosts or not, their economic benefits are clear. A city where things go bump in the night, making the most of its ghostly connections. Phil Connell, BBC Look North, York.
He's not a ghost or a mirage. Paul is back. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you very much.
How is fatherhood the 3rd time round?
Absolutely fantastic. Anya's as good as gold. Getting some sleep. What more could you want? I love being a dad again.
And you look fresh.
Thank you.
And he's about 2 minutes and already bombarding us with stats.
Well, I have not had anybody to bore these statistics with, so I've saved them up for you.
Can't wait.
And it's a belter, actually, because, I don't know how warm you feel that September's been, but it turns out Sheffield Weston Park, longest data set in Yorkshire, goes back to 1882. It's currently the warmest September on record.
Really?
What's really interesting is that June was the 2nd warmest on record, July was the 2nd wettest on record, and here we are with September, looks set to break another record. And, it's climate change right before our very eyes, so I thought that was interesting.
And will October do the wettest on record?
You never know.
Let's hope not.
Watch this space. A couple of lovely pictures. First of all, something we've seen quite a lot of actually in the last few months, the Northern Lights there in Cracoe. There is another chance of seeing that perhaps tonight. It's all down to the fact that the sun is coming towards the top of its 11-year cycle, so just a chance tonight of seeing that. And the next picture, as you can see, hopefully behind me, is one where, there we are. I was going to talk about the berries on the trees, an old wives' tale. What does that mean? Perhaps that means we're in for a cold winter if you listen to those old wives' tales, but I certainly don't. Keep the pictures coming in on Twitter, on Instagram and on the Weather Watcher website. So let's have a look at the forecast for the next 24 hours. It's not looking too bad. It stays on the warm side of average. Today we've had around about 20 degrees, similar values tomorrow, but there is a risk of a few scattered showers. Courtesy of these weather fronts, we've got our first named storm sweeping up on Wednesday night. I have to say that is nothing out of the ordinary for this time of the year. Late September into October is the time we get those areas of wet and windy weather. It means gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour for our region, especially over the hills. And this little system will bring cloud and some showers on Thursday, but Friday and Saturday look quite nice. Now there's the satellite picture. You can see just a few clouds this afternoon, but it's been a beautiful late September day once more. So we start the forecast this evening. All of us will be fine with clear spells, and then overnight looks set to be dry with lengthy clear periods. Just a little bit of patchy cloud later in the night, and we're looking at lowest temperatures coming in at around 9 or 10 degrees Celsius. So tomorrow's high water times, another beautiful day along the coast. Filey tomorrow afternoon at around about 5 to 3. So tomorrow morning off to a nice start, breezy, bright, mild with some sunshine. There you see a hint of showers coming up from the southwest, later into the west. That's a weakening cold front there, bringing further showers, but a good deal of fine weather is expected in between those showers, and we'll see top afternoon temperatures, as I say, 20 degrees. The average for late September is around about 16, so we're way above 4 degrees above average with a blustery south to southwest wind. Further ahead then, Wednesday, a fine start. We'll see that wind and rain sweeping up from the southwest later in the day, courtesy of the first named storm of the season. Gales on Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Thursday's a bit of a messy one, a lot of clouds, scattered showers, but Friday and Saturday look lovely. And look at these temperatures into early October. Remarkable. That's the forecast.
Is baby Annie watching tonight?
She may well be, yes. If so, she'll be asleep already, of course.
Well, Daddy's coming back to do your night feeds, aren't you?
Yes.
I'll be back with you, though, for the news at 10:30. I hope you'll join us then. Bye-bye. Nice talking.